Happy Friday, everyone. Good morning. Awesemo odds betting show. Ben Raza, Jason Roslin. We're gonna be hitting a lot of different topics. Obviously, it's not the most extreme sports weekend because we have the off week before the Super Bowl. We're gonna get into some Super Bowl stuff, just first look and whatnot. Talk some CBB, talk some golf. Farmers is going on. I think they're teeing off right now, but what's going on, man? First, most importantly, how was your Thursday at the Farmers?
Yeah, my Thursday at the Farmers was twofold. One, it was extremely tilting, and two, because of the second reason. One, if you guys don't know me now, which I'm sure probably most do, and if you've been following me on Twitter the last couple of weeks, I like to stick my neck out for my guys, and Jordan Spieth happens to be one of my guys. And obviously, I've been taking a ton of flack for it. And yesterday, he returned to his Spieth putting form. He made everything he looked at, everything outside of 15 and 20 feet he made. So it was awesome because I've been saying that that's going to happen. The most tilting part was every single lineup that I had him in, which I have him about 25%, so about 4x the field, 5x the field, is in with Cantlay. So it's just like, you did great, but you got Cantlay. So it's how good did you do?
Yeah, it's been I feel the same way. I got over on Spieth. I need a mirror. I mean, Cantlay, we'll see. He's on the at least he's going to the north. I have Kyle Stanley problems, so I'm even worse shape. I need a miracle.
Yeah, I hear you. I jumped along the Kyle Stanley bandwagon a little bit, and I know he's had some bad round ones and met up with it in round two, but he's going to need a 67, at South Course. So I'm sweating that one with you a little bit.
Well, we'll see. But all right, let's get right into it. I know, obviously, we'll jump in. You want to take it away? I know we talked some CBB last week. Interesting games. That Xavier game was wild. I know we're about to touch upon it, but
yeah, definitely. Let's start there. We had a discussion, and we'll have Jordan back on next week. Jordan was just over with me a couple of nights ago for the FTSA. Jeez, there's a lot, and they're changing their name now. But anyways, yeah, Jordan's gone back-to-back weeks with the West Coast to East Coast trip, so we'll give him a pass today. But the three of us, we kind of differed on this one a little bit. I thought Xavier was going to play a hard game and keep it within 10.5. And man, I needed that half a point because Xavier ended up losing by 10. So the cover did end up coming through. It was definitely some tense moments down the end. But obviously a lot of points scored. Villanova seems to be back on track.
Yeah.
You watched the game and what'd you think about it?
I caught a little of it. The biggest takeaway, and you just said it, is, and we're going to be, as March goes closer, Villanova is starting to become a real team again. They had a slow start. They lost to Furman, the old Paladins, some real shady teams early in the year. They've seemed to hit their stride again. So they looked like the team to beat in that conference. Pretty standard, a win. It was closer, and then they started to assert control kind of late in the game. And yeah, that's why, getting a good line, 10.5, win by the hook.
Yeah, sometimes I guess you take the luck where you can. Absolutely. You brought up Furman. Maybe the best putter of all time went to Furman, the pride of Rhode Island golf, Brad Faxon.
There you go.
Just a little trivia here for you on Friday morning. So yeah, one of the next games we covered was Eastern Michigan against Buffalo, and you and I don't know if it's Buffalo plays on Fridays, and
I think it is
all of their games.
Always.
But we do. We get all of the Buffalo games, and I thought Buffalo would cover by 16, and they did. They won by they won by 12, so they did not cover the 16. You guys, you and Jordan both said that line of 16, as good as Buffalo is, probably was a little too high, and definitely seemed to be. We're gonna get them again today, so we'll talk about them. But one of the ones that I liked, which is certainly something we got to keep note of, is this Maryland team is playing very well. Now, I didn't check their second game of the week, but they ended up beating Ohio State by 14, and they were getting 2 points, and I had that side. So that was a good bet. But, man, Maryland looks pretty strong going into Ohio State, who was ranked. Did you catch any of that game, and what do you think about Maryland going forward?
I didn't, but, it's funny. Obviously, I had my article up yesterday, and the game I was talking about was Michigan State and Iowa, and it's just the Big Ten, unless you're playing Rutgers, a couple other teams, it's a brutal stretch. If you're going into hostile environments, you're getting quality teams, even if they're in the middle of the pack, Illinois and Nebraska, who I overrated, obviously, Iowa. And Maryland's one of those teams. They seem to be trending towards the top of, I don't know if they're in the Michigan State, Michigan class, but at the same time, especially, you go to College Park, they can beat anyone. But it was very impressive to see them go, into Columbus, play well. And it's someone to take note of. Obviously, a whole bunch of them are going to be in the tournament. I mean, they might get 10 teams at this point.
Yeah,
It's
they might.
ridiculous. And we have a big one on tap tonight. We're obviously going to talk about Michigan and Indiana coming up.
Yeah, I thought, and we have just a few more things to cover from last week. We want to always keep ourselves in check, of course, but
Sure.
we will start off with the Indiana Michigan game. I'm excited to talk about that and see which way you're leaning. But yeah, we football actually for me last week was pretty good. I had the Rams and the Patriots and took them on a parlay as well for plus 350, which was pretty good. The over and under, to me, Ben, I am really struggling with it, though. I had them both wrong. I think the three of us, I said for me, I'm staying away from the over under on the Patriots-Chiefs game because I don't really know what's going to happen. The weather may not end up being a problem. I did take the over on the Rams-Saints game, and it wasn't really even close. So what do you think is going on with the over-unders? Do you think I'm just taking too much stock in the regular season? Because you and I did talk about how in the postseason teams, constrict a little bit and maybe play a little tighter. What did you see from it, and what do you think I can do going forward to do a little better?
It's obviously like everything. There's a bunch of factors that go in. The one thing, defense certainly starts slow. They do catch up at this time of the year. I think even teams that really like to get up and down, I think there's just such an allure to controlling the tempo and the clock. You just see drives that maybe would normally take 2 or 3 minutes. They stretch out to 5 and 6 minutes. And then obviously a team like the Patriots, they're able to chameleon themselves, and they say, you know what, we're going to just control the game with 8-minute drives, on the ground. It really obviously softens some things. Coaches maybe a little apprehensive to gamble as much. Obviously, we do see more and more. They're getting smarter. Still not there. They should be going for a lot more, obviously. But yeah, I liked. Obviously, the Rams game was just absurd. I also was on them. It is what it is. They caught obviously a huge break. Chiefs, hard fought. If there was, obviously you guys win the coin toss. You never lose a coin toss.
No.
Well fought game. But yeah,
not in the Tom Brady era, at least.
Not in the Tom Brady era, but that's from an exciting entertainment standpoint. I don't know how they'll ever top that. Those were two classics, even if they were controversial.
Yeah, 4 best teams in football, in my opinion. No doubt about it. Yeah, I think 2 controversial things. First, the pass interference penalty. Truthfully, I don't know why that's not reviewable. I've said it for a couple of years. I don't think I'm in the minority there at this point, and I think we're going to see that next year. Truthfully, I really think we're probably going to see a lot more things as time marches on reviewed, and I think pass interference probably is going to end up being one of them. Because it did change the outcome of the game more than likely. Who knows? The Rams might have stopped Kamara and Ingram 3 straight plays, and they still kicked the field goal. So I don't know. I don't put too much stock into it. I know that some of the players, like Ben Watson, tweeted this morning that he thinks he's getting a rematch.
That's not happening.
Going to happen. I can assure you. In the Patriots game, I will say I'm a Patriots fan, so it wasn't anticlimactic for me, but it certainly was for most people to see Patriots win the toss, march all the way down the field. Granted, Tom Brady was 3 for 3 on third downs yet again, and they weren't 3rd and 2s either. They were 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. But, I would like to see a little bit more college. I actually like college football, not overtime. I like their rules. I don't know if it'll work for the NFL. NFL did change it a little bit to say, hey, if you kick a field goal, we'll give you a chance. But it was a little anticlimactic for such a good game.
They need to change. I get pass interference. They got to probably do something there too. To me, the first thing, if I could change one thing, it'd be the overtime rule. It's just not fair. It's the equivalent. I honestly, the first thing I thought of is in the World Cup, if you're doing penalty kicks and you get to kick first, and if you score, it's over.
That's a great point. Or even where if it's not World Cup, FIFA uses golden goal, which is okay, but it's not. It's still not play the 30 minutes, then go to extra kicks. So, yeah, that's a great point, by the way, about the penalty kicks. Yeah,
it just feels so hollow. And I get, the Chiefs had their chances to stop them. But you know what? The Patriots, they should have had to stop Mahomes once. And if he answers, you play on, and then maybe it's sudden death. But you really should get chances for both teams to possess the ball. Wouldn't you want to mitigate the importance of the coin toss? I really don't understand.
The most variable thing, in the world. It's literally a 50-50 chance. Yeah,
you know what,
I would like to see both teams get the ball as well.
For sure. But, then at the end of the game, these are the rules. You got to stop them. Patriots, as lucky as they are in the coin tosses, they take advantage of it every time. And that just speaks to how good, they are in those situations. So we'll see what happens. It will be fun, obviously. We get a bye week this week, and then we get, obviously, Rams, Patriots, which is going to be a good one.
Yeah, and we'll touch a little bit. They have some game props out that are always fun. The Super Bowl has, the most list of props, obviously, by any sporting event all year. So that'll be a lot of fun. We'll touch on some of them today. We'll get into player props next week when we get Jordan back on the show.
Definitely.
So that'll be good. Last thing we'll cover is one of the lines, and I talked about this a couple of times. One of the things that I've done this year is take these second round matchups in golf, and I like to just play the favorites and take the spread on the match. So not every book offers this. I will say I look at and use Sportsbook, and they do offer spreads on the match. Last week, though, wasn't as good as I would have hoped. It went 4-2 in that. Two kind of losses that, are just variable to golf, which is going to happen if you do these round matchups. So I will tell you that if you're looking at them, you really got to go 60 to 70%, especially if you're taking these favorites, because you're going to pay juice. There's no doubt about it, especially when you get a line, for example, today, like Gary Woodland versus Adam Long. Adam Long won last week, even though he won last week, right? It's still massive. It's like minus 180. So you got to win a couple of them, obviously, to pay for a loss if you have it. So it's not something we like to tout that much, but it's something that still there's opportunities when they present themselves. So we'll go over to some of those today. But I think that covers the recap of last week, unless you got anything else you want to bring up.
I do want to bring up one thing, and it's going to kind of feed into – we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl plenty, not to worry. And I don't want to, derail the entire show with this, but do you think that what is going on with Gurley? Because CJ Anderson, it's one of my favorite props last week was betting the under. It still went under.
It did.
The fact that the timeshare is so confusing to me to think that it's anything but Gurley being injured. They're saying no. Do you have any inkling what you think? Just to fast forward, what do you think we see in the Super Bowl? Do you think CJ Anderson takes a role?
Yeah, last week, all three of us, and we all got it right. So it's not, we all won the bet. I shouldn't say we got it right. We won the bet, which I guess means we got it right. But in reality, he had way more carries than we all thought he was going to get, way more time on the field. Yeah, he's got to be hurt. I mean, come on. Todd Gurley, over the last 3 years, has been one of the best running backs in the league. CJ Anderson has not been able to hold a job. Now, granted, he had a good season a couple of years ago with Denver, but he hasn't been able to hold a job. So, yeah, obviously he's found a role here, but I think Gurley's hurt. I just don't think he's 100%. I think we could see a knee scrape at the end of the season. Hopefully it's not worse, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Gurley announce that he's getting surgery 2 days after the Super Bowl is over, to be completely
honest. It really feels that way just because that was one of those bets, and this is where variance comes in. Like, we won the bet, and it went as wrong as I could have predicted. It was very fortunate that he didn't get a couple more carries. I thought he would be a non-factor. So we'll see. That's obviously going to be one of the storylines that we're going to be touching upon in these next 2 weeks. But that's all I got. Now we can get back to some CBB and whatnot.
Yeah. So college basketball, Ben and I definitely have tallied off each other and done pretty well here in our fifth week of covering it. Covering it together, I should say. So first one I'm going to bring up is the Michigan at Indiana game. Indiana really struggling right now, and I was surprised to see it only be a 4-point favorite to Michigan. Now, I know they're traveling into Indiana, always tough to play on the road in this Big Ten, but Michigan seems to be rolling. Indiana seems to be going the other way. I'm going to take Michigan here to cover the points today, even though they're on the road. I know it goes against a little bit of our principles, but I think it's form here. We talk a lot in golf about form and bad form. I think Michigan's playing too good. Do you have anything else that I should be looking at on the other side, or are you going to join me?
This is a fascinating game. So Michigan, they finally got nabbed. They went into Wisconsin, who, again, they fit that criteria.
That was their first loss. Sorry.
Yeah. It's been tough, but this is what happens when you go on the road. Obviously, Kohl Center, tough spot. They come home, they play Minnesota. They're in full control. I was watching the game. I wasn't paying attention. I looked up, and they're just tied at 57 with 1 second left, and Michigan hits a buzzer beater. So that was at home. That was an uninspiring. I know Minnesota's decent, but they should handle that. Now they go to Assembly Hall, and you just talked about it. Indiana's not playing well. They just got smoked by Northwestern. I will say, though, I do think they get a desperate Indiana team, and it will be rocking there. 4 points. As much as I want to say that I like Michigan, I root for them. I'm going to go against you, make it a little interesting. I'll take the 4 points at home. I just think this is another example. You have Michigan State, who is really just broken out. All these other teams, if you're going on the road, I think more often than not, you're going to be in a toss-up situation. Key for Michigan, obviously, Iggy, who's their phenom freshman, he's got to be better. He was not good against Wisconsin. When they control the game and control the tempo, they're almost impossible to beat, honestly. And then on the Indiana side, real quick, Romeo Langford, who's their star freshman, he has to be the best player on the court. They need a healthy dose of him. But I will say that Indiana, not going to say that they win per se, even though it is only 4 points. But I'll take the handful of points and say that they keep it close enough to cover that spread.
Yeah, and interesting that the line here for especially a top team in the country on the over-under, it's 133.5. Now, Michigan in their last 2 games has only put up 54 and 59, and Indiana, has only put up, 60 or so points. But 133.5 seems so low, especially when we go to the next game we're going to talk about, Buffalo and Kent State. They're at 163. So 30-point difference, really? Is it really going to be that much of a tempo game, or can you see these two teams getting over 133 points?
Not a strong take. I would lean to the over, to be honest. More so just I think both teams have been rather inefficient lately. Not that they want to get up and down. Like Buffalo wants to run. These teams are not going to be running, but Michigan has just been missing. They've had a lot of good looks at 3. They're not hitting them. Indiana's been a little sloppy. That should improve being at home. There's always the foul situation. You can always lean to that. So I have a feeling this game creeps into the 60s, maybe even the 70s, which will push you over.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over as well. I think that Minnesota game was Minnesota coming in, playing pretty good and playing hard. Wisconsin, we know that is their game. So I think that this could be a little bit of a breakout. Yeah, 70 to 68, putting you at 138, which is, something in that range. Or, if Indiana covers, I think the only way that the over doesn't hit would be if Indiana doesn't cover. Honestly, I think that's so. If you're looking for a game theory, would be, if you're betting against Indiana and going with my side, maybe you want to take the under. If you're going with your side, maybe you want to take the Indiana over there as it's kind of a game parlay.
Yeah, it correlates a bit. I do think that if there's one team that wants to get out a little, it's certainly on the Indiana side. If Michigan really clamps down and keeps the game low scoring, they could really Yep.
So Buffalo, Kent State, we definitely talk about Buffalo a lot, and they play on Fridays, but they're a fun team this year. They're a fun team to talk about. I'm going to say like reminiscent of the Gonzaga before Gonzaga became a powerhouse. It's just a nice mid-major run where they're getting a ton of buzz around the country. However, they just lost to Northern Illinois, so that's going to put them, back towards the back half of the top 25. Did you catch that game? It was on the road. It's a MAC conference game. We know that's going to go weird, but it seemed like Northern Illinois was a good team, and they should not have lost that game.
Yeah, it's, you get tripped up. First of all, if you haven't seen Northern Illinois' court, that should just be illegal. That is the ugliest court I've ever seen.
By far.
It is disgusting. No wonder they can't handle that place. But, it's to be expected. I'll put it like this. If there's one team that really isn't going to be happy, it's Kent State, who Buffalo is playing tonight. Obviously, coming off a loss, you would expect them to be a lot more focused. It's hard to run. Even when you're the better team every night, it's just hard to run through a conference season undefeated. You go on the road, you get teams' best shot, and you're a little, just a little sloppy. So I expect Buffalo tonight. Kent State, scrappy team. They just beat Toledo, who's a decent team in the MAC. But this is one where I think when you combine Buffalo's talent and their newfound focus coming off a loss, I have a feeling we see them impressively win today against Kent State.
Yeah, and Kent State is is relatively hot. They're 15-4 on the year, and granted, they haven't played very good teams at all, but they are ranked probably one of the better teams in this MAC conference. They're the pride and joy of Julian Edelman of the Patriots, so obviously a little bit of homer there. But 8.5, Kent State is playing well. It made me nervous that Kent State is playing well, and they're playing at home. So this one's a little tight for me. I would much have rather seen it go to double digits and take Kent State, by double digits at home. We talked about this last week, and you guys made fun of me a little bit. And I've gotten lucky on taking the points. I'm going to do it again here. I'm going to move it up to 10.5. I'm going to buy the 2 points. I'm going to get it into the double digits. I'm going to say Kent State prize on a little bit of the weakness we saw in Buffalo last time and covers. I don't think they win by any stretch, but I think they can come within 7 to 10 points.
It's going to come down to their defense. So, looking at Kent State's, in the mid 200s in defensive efficiency. They have the offensive score. It's just Buffalo's a high-powered offense. Obviously, they have seniors. They're angry. Being on the road, not ideal. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, if this was in Buffalo, we would see this spread, clearly over 10 points. There's no doubt about it. But I think that if Buffalo gets off to a hot start, the wheels could kind of come falling off. This will be an impressive rebound, though. This is how you want to see, how does the team respond? So for a relatively weak night, it's something to monitor for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And the 2 points is minus 175 today, which, again, we talked about that juice. It's not really, you shouldn't do it, but shouldn't do it often, as you guys alluded to last week. But in this game, I just think Kent State is playing a little too good to lose by double digits, even to a top 25 ranked Buffalo team. So definitely see how that'll pan out. A couple of more games on the docket. Quinnipiac, a little school out of Connecticut, Ryder and Iona. Another Northeastern game, Brown and Yale, and then Butler Creighton. Do you want to touch on Butler Creighton or any of the other three I mentioned?
Yeah, that's all we got tonight. There's only 6 of them. I will say Brown and Yale just played. I did watch that game. You may wonder why, but they're now in New Haven, so we'll see if Yale can sweep them in this quick turnaround. The one game I do think that I do want to touch upon is Butler Creighton. Butler just lost to Nova. That was in Hinkle. So now they got to go to Omaha in Creighton's gym. Creighton's kind of an enigma. I really don't know how good they are. They like to score. They like to push the tempo. I'm leaning towards the home team here. I just think that they've really had a tough stretch. A lot of it's been on the road. Now they come home. Butler, not great this year. Obviously, Kamar Baldwin's a good player, but I have a feeling that Creighton's offense tonight really gets going. Only 2-2. I see 2.5 out there. I think they just get it done at home tonight to cover that number.
Okay. Like that one. So Brown and Yale, they just played, and it looks like Brown gave them a good game at least.
Real good game. Yep.
In Providence, as you mentioned, at home. And, sadly, Jordan Spieth's younger brother doesn't play on the team anymore. So as I try and bring golf back and everything, that's the second time I got it in here. You don't think Brown can come within 8 of Yale down in New Haven?
Mike, if I had to bet the game, I would lay the points with Yale. Brown did play well. Like I said, I watched that game. They were in it. Yale, though, they just inside, they really punished them. And I have a feeling that travels a little more. So if Brown can get going, maybe from the outside again, keep it relatively low scoring, maybe they cover the game. But I have a feeling Yale at home, this is a big game for the Ivy. They don't, those teams, obviously they're vying. It's a 1-bid league. So Yale needs this game. I have a feeling they get off to a little quicker start this time and kind of cruise to victory, to be honest.
Yeah, here's one thing I will say, and I'm definitely taking the under. These two teams just played a couple of days ago and scored 137 points, and the over is 154.5. So it just seems like that line is, I don't know why. Is there some player back? I can't find anything about it. This also is one of the biggest line moves from the open as well. It moves 6 on the Brown side. So I don't know. I'm definitely taking the under here, though. That's the way I'm going to play this game. I can't see these two teams who just played a couple of days ago scoring over 150 points.
Yeah, it's again, it's not a game where I don't have this one circled on the old calendar, but limited options tonight. I'll take a look at it, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, tomorrow there's a slew of big games, the Big 12's SEC Challenge and plenty more. So obviously, for anyone watching, as I always say, hop in Slack, sign on up. No doubt about it. Get to the site. We'll be talking plenty of other games, Saturday and whatnot as these lines come out. So if you haven't joined, sign on up.
Absolutely, definitely. So, do you want to go into any more college basketball, or do you want to move into just a little bit of a Super Bowl preview here?
No, let's talk some Super Bowl. Then we'll leave some time for golf, and we'll get on out of here.
All right, that sounds pretty good. So,
Perfect.
I think one of the first things that I just want to give the lines. I'm sure a lot of people know them, but right now it opened at +1 for the Patriots. It's now down to -2.5, and over under 56.5. First line is a 0.5 point and 27.5. So just wanted to get the baselines out of there for you, and have your opening thoughts first.
It obviously, yeah, the spread is moving. Patriots taking on money. It's such a tough game. There's a lot of factors, and I'll actually just pass it back to you because I have it the other way. Do you tend to try to avoid bet? I know right now we only have one game, but on a macro level, do you tend to avoid betting Patriot games because you kind of feel that maybe you don't see it clearly because you're so invested, personally?
Yeah, there's the age-old saying of, don't bet your teams because you're always just going to bet on your team, and it may not be a plus EV to do that. However, I mean, if you've bet with the Patriots since Brady and Belichick taken over, I mean, you've done pretty darn well. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I would say that I don't throw as much on it as I do in other games, but I will say that I end up parlaying it more with others. Like if the Patriots are favored, I'll take whoever I think is going to win the tournament, and I'll play the Patriots.
Makes sense.
Yeah, just because when they're the favorites, they've lost so little times that I'll take the money line and just take the juice. But it's just because they've statistically shown me that they're going to cover. They may not cover. I shouldn't say may not cover, but they're going to win when they're the favorite. So yeah, I don't know. It's tough for me.
Yeah, I just mean for me. So obviously, at least we get 2 weeks to cool down. I don't particularly like the Chiefs, but I'm not a Patriots fan. But it frustrates me. There's no doubt. So
I understand.
It is what it is. The game itself, it's going to be another very difficult toss-up chess match. Sean McVay is going to have to figure out. I think more importantly, is handling these running backs for the Patriots. Sony Michel is continuing to be a big part. James White wasn't super involved, but he's still, he does enough. He made some big catches that kind of got overshadowed because the game got out of control with Hogan and the Edelman punt and all that. But limiting those backs and trying to contain that. And now obviously we saw, I don't think it came as a shock to either of us, Gronkowski, he may not be what he was, but he's still, when it's big plays, they look to him, and he more often than not comes up with those catches.
Yeah, and I will say I am a big fan of Tony Romo.
Great.
I love listening to him. I have absolutely been on Twitter outspoken that I would love to see him at Augusta. He knows golf just as much as football. Probably he almost made it onto the web.com, made it through a couple of stages of qualifying school. But anyways, the whole game, he said they are going to move Gronkowski out in a play and they're going to get him one-on-one. And sure enough, he called exactly when it was going to happen. And, maybe it wasn't like the hardest call in the world, but yeah, the Patriots find ways to use their best players, maybe when you least expect it or in most opportune times. And that 3rd and 9 late in the game, Gronk against Eric Berry. And we talked about Eric Berry. If he'd come back, what type of impact would he make? And he made a relatively good impact until that play. And that was a huge play. And Gronk absolutely dominated him on the offensive line. I mean, he's just the biggest part to the running game in Sony Michel as Trent Brown and these other guys on the offensive line. He has controlled that position for the last couple of weeks, and really is acting like a offensive lineman.
So yeah, I mean, these are the questions. Obviously, we're going to delve into it deeper, but those were my first thoughts. Obviously, for the Patriots, what are they going to do with Aaron Donald? He's unbelievable. He really is. He's such a problem in the interior. I will say that I was impressed by Goff. I'm not going to lie. He really, that game could have got away. And did he win the game for them? No, but he certainly didn't lose it. He made some big plays down the stretch and definitely did enough. So that was nice to see. And then the Gurley question. That's another one right at the top of the list. They need a healthy Todd Gurley, I think, to have a chance.
Yeah. Now, did you see? Speaking of Aaron Donald, and he's much better, in my opinion, than Justin Houston and some of these guys on Kansas City. But
Yes.
Kansas City had been pressuring the quarterback significantly, and they didn't even touch Tom Brady. I'm sorry. Yes, they did, and they got flagged for it.
Yeah, that's story of
Story of the game. But really, they didn't even come close to him. You got to think Aaron Donald's going to give him a little bit more pressure. And we did see the 2 losses for the Patriots in the Super Bowl came against Michael Strahan, Justin Tuck, these guys that were able to get pressure on him and put him on his butt. If Aaron Donald doesn't get to the quarterback, the Patriots could win by 2 touchdowns. Honestly,
that's always the key. Yep. It's getting pressure without blitzing, because when they blitz, he gets the ball out too fast anyway.
He's way too good at it. Yep.
If they can get pressure up the middle with Donald in Brady's face, and I'm not, it is what it is. Yeah, like I said, I'm not the biggest Patriots guy. But when Brady gets moving and feels the heat, he's not the best. It's not like Mahomes out there making crazy plays. So if they can get him off the spot, that's step one. Because when he has time, he's just surgical. It's almost impossible to stop. And that's really what we'll have to check. Now, this line, I'm also interested to see where this closes, because I'm looking right now. I see Patriots -2.5.
That's what I
if
say.
they cross, it would be very, very interesting to see if enough money could pour in to see it cross 3. Obviously, 3 is a key number in football. A lot of games end on 3. I don't think this could go to 3.5, but if it did, that would really change a lot of my opinions.
Yeah, I think if it went to 3.5, you'd see it so quickly get back to 3 that you'd have to kind of be sitting there watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Type of thing, because I think a lot of people that are astute in this betting football will take that and say there's no way that you wouldn't want to put money on the Rams at 3.5, just because of the way that the games have been unfolding. The only way you end up losing that is if the game gets out of hand or it goes into overtime and the Patriots score on a touchdown. So if you like the Rams here at 2.5, there's no reason why you wouldn't just go do the money line. In my opinion, I know that other people might disagree, but I think that your likelihood of the Rams losing by less than 3 points is probably harder to. It's probably harder to accomplish than the Rams winning the game. I think I'd give the Rams more odds to win than I would them to cover 2.5 points at this point.
Certainly an option. Yeah, I mean, obviously. That's why we're not going to delve into, but the power of those key numbers when you're doing teasers, when you're doing other bets, if you can negate some of the big numbers, that's huge, because the number of games that land on 1 or 2, and then the number that land on 3, that's a whole different ball game. So but do you want to jump into just a couple of, I know you have some props here. Any of them catch your eye? I know some of them are kind of fun, but.
Yeah, and I think there's a big difference between the fun ones and ones that we'll see in Edge 2, and we're going to dive into the ones we see in Edge 2. It's going to be almost, not the entire show next week, but a bulk of the show will be on these player props and other props we think we can take advantage of, and of course the game itself. But one of the first ones I always like is the coin toss one, heads and tails. That's a silly one because you're having to pay juice.
It's insane.
But, the Patriots never lose a coin toss. It really almost feels that way. So that's just an interesting line that I saw. I don't know if you're interested in it, but we already brought it up. The Patriots are. Let me get it here for you. I think the Patriots are even favored in it because that's the way it happens. No, I'm sorry. They're both -105.
Pay that 5 cents. Yeah, it's insane that people. I mean, more power to if you want to have some fun. Just people know, public service announcement, don't be betting. That's obviously negative EV. I can assure you of that.
Absolutely. It definitely is. One of the ones that I like, and I'll take your thought on this. Again, these are more fun. These are going to be the more fun ones. If we see an edge, we'll definitely tell you. But first score of the game, touchdown is -185. Any other is +150, which would mean a field goal or a safety. We have seen some legit weird things happen in the last couple of Super Bowls. Do you like that one, or is staying away from it?
Yeah, I'll probably stay away, to be honest. But at least there you can look. Now it's probably raked to all hell, but they're in a dome. Obviously, I will say, just to circle back for 1 second, that second kick in the Rams game was good from like 75.
Oh yeah,
that thing was smoked.
Yep.
So Zerline, obviously, they feel pretty confident with him. Gostkowski, you have two good kickers. So, if a drive stalls, you can take a shot with, other, and obviously you're hoping for a field goal. I don't think the safety. We did see that once. I feel like Brady, there was like intentional grounding or something in one of them. But
in the Super Bowl,
yeah, it was. Did
holding.
safety
It was
cash
holding early in the game. It was holding on Brady, and then the year before it was the Peyton Manning year when he just got destroyed, I think,
by the Seahawks?
by the Seahawks. There was a early safety in that one as well. Just weird things happen, and you can certainly bet on that. How do you see the game unfolding? And I know, again, we're kind of playing a little, crystal ballish here, but one of the ones that I just saw that I actually am interested in to press the no on would be a team scoring within the first 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
That one's a little tough for me, but you've seen Super Bowls really kind of get out to kind of a sluggish start and then really pick up. I'm kind of into that. I'm kind of into that one, unless the defense makes a massively big, play against, a missed coverage or something like that. I actually think we could see, the first drive of the game even go over 5 minutes, or a couple 3-and-outs to start the game, which will push it really close to that mark. That's actually one that I'm interested in.
I see that. It tends to be, not that the Patriots are so used to this, but in all sports, Final Fours, that, obviously super teams tend to be a little, you get into the flow of the game a little, but sometimes it starts a little slow, a little sluggish. And you just touched upon it. We were talking about this earlier. The Patriots, if they march down the field methodically, they're going to score in 7 minutes. Now, maybe they defer if they win the coin toss, but the Rams, it wouldn't be stunning to see them start a little slow. They did against the Saints. That's one, if I had to bet it, I would be with you. I'd lean to no. Think maybe that first score comes a little later in the first quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. So those were kind of just some of the first ones. Again, they didn't put out player props yet. I'm sure they're waiting for injuries.
Those will be fun, obviously.
Yeah, those are a lot of fun because they come up with some of the weirdest ones for the Super Bowl. So definitely excited about that. But any other props or lines that you'd like to discuss at this point? I know we're about a week away from the game, or about 10 days. So anything else that you're keeping an eye on?
Nothing really. Like I said, I think for me with the props, it is fun, and we'll probably have some articles. We're going to be doing some stuff leading up to the game. I'll probably take a stab with maybe like who scores first. Look, I think these are two good teams to do it, especially on the Patriots side. There's a lot of Chris Hogan, Dorsett types that you're going to get a good odds, if it's not one of those mean dudes. And then on the other side, someone like Josh Reynolds, that, second or third wide receiver. If the price is right, I may take a couple stabs and say maybe they actually break the seal on this one.
Fair enough. One of the other ones that I love doing every single year, especially when the Patriots are in it, is I'll bet the actual like a series of points, like Patriots win by 11 or 13, or Rams win by 11 or 13. So we'll go over those next week, because you can get some good odds. Like Patriots 11 to 13 is 15-1 odds, which you're playing for an exact score, but it's definitely creates a sweat towards the end of the game. So we'll get into those for sure.
Like everything, it's with the Super Bowl, you want to know, and it's DFS, it applies to all this stuff. Get your goals, what you want to do. If you want to have some fun with the game, bet some of these fun, silly props. If you're trying to win money per se, you probably want to pick your spots very liberally.
Yep.
And that's sounds like the apartment complex is burned down over there. Sirens. Okay. Anyway, that's all I got for the Super Bowl. We do have, as we were saying, Farmers is going on. Do you want to talk some golf?
Yeah, let's talk some golf. And I think the first thing that we need to make clear, obviously, there's 2 golf courses this week, which can always confuse a little people. But round 2 matchups, a couple of interesting ones. Now that they're going out in threesomes, so they're not pairing all of them up like they didn't give. At least the book that I'm using here for this, I didn't get a Tiger Woods versus Xander Schauffele or a Tony Finau versus Xander Schauffele. I just got a Tiger versus Tony. I'm not interested in that matchup. I think it's too much of a coin toss. But I had highlighted 3. I'm sorry, 4. I'm going to start with Rory versus Ricky. I'm on Rory here. Ricky has really struggled at this golf course, at this tournament. 4 of the last 5 cuts he's missed. He's a big sponsor of Farmers. Obviously, he's in every single one of their commercials, right?
Yes, I mean,
so maybe there's a little bit of sponsors stuff going on. But this golf course today, length is going to matter. Scoring was really low yesterday from John Rahm and Justin Rose here. So I just think that Rory's in a little bit better form. I know that he didn't play all that great yesterday, and neither did Ricky. But this one's it's a push. It's even lines. I'm sorry. So I'll take Rory in the even line.
I'm with you. I saw obviously those are two guys I was on a bit. Rory, I thought actually scored really bad. I thought he played okay. Not that he was super crisp, but he did not hole anything. The driver looked good. He let one get away, a couple in the sand. Ricky, it was a little all over the course. He made some long putts, and that's what we see from him. Obviously, they're both going to be in attack mode. They're on the North course.
Yep.
I just have a feeling I wouldn't be stunned to see Rory hang a 65, 66 today and get himself right back in this tournament.
Yeah, agreed. Second one, which 40% of the people that decided to play in the $300 contest this week on DraftKings will be watching shot by shot. And other people, I'm sure he's very highly owned as well. And I'm talking about Patrick Cantlay. He's going against Brendan Steele. And listen, Cantlay looked awful. It really started yesterday when Shot Tracker had him on, I think it was 14, his fifth hole of the day, had him 140 yards out, middle of the fairway. He hit it to 18 inches. And then it said double bogey all of a sudden. Obviously, he didn't hit it to 18 inches. He airmailed the green, put it into the native area, had to take a drop. And we're talking from the middle of the fairway. This is very unlike Patrick Cantlay. So can we see a bounce back round? Yeah, we're going to need a 66 to make the cut more than likely today. We know that he's in way better form than Brendan Steele. So I'm just going with the form here. Obviously, maybe long-term form, Cantlay and Steele are a little bit closer. But short-term form, they're not. Cantlay's way above Steele. So I'm just going to go that it was a fluke yesterday and maybe he was out partying with his friends too much or what have you. I'm going to go back to Cantlay. How about you?
I also lean there. Obviously, now, this is not minus 110. I believe he's – do you have –
Yeah, I'm taking the half a shot for minus 130. Correct.
Okay, so there you go, minus 130. I think the real, it's like 160-ish.
Yep.
And it's tough. Cantlay did not look sharp. Putter wasn't great. As you said, he let an iron slip away. Having said that, this guy, I wouldn't be, I know our Slack chat right now is burning down because Cantlay, he's in trouble. I'm not saying he's not out of it. Kyle Stanley has real problems. Cantlay needs a good round today on a course that is beyond gettable. So he's another one. I think that as Brendan Steele certainly played better yesterday, Cantlay's going to be in attack mode. If he gets off to a sluggish start, it could be bad because he's going to probably pack it in. But I don't think he does that. I think he kind of cruises to victory in this and actually makes the cut. I'm going to predict that Patrick Cantlay sees the weekend.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be right on that train, hoping with you, and hoping as well. Another guy that is in a bit of trouble today. Now, granted, he's going to the easy course and he's right on the cut line, but guy that came out firing this year in the calendar year, Gary Woodland. He's -1 going to the course, and he's paired up against last week's winner, Adam Long, who I looked at his statistical numbers yesterday. They looked good again on the South course. But, I mean, listen, we're talking Gary Woodland versus Adam Long. Nobody knew who Adam Long was prior to last week. And now I'm getting Gary Woodland a half a shot favorite for -130. I'm going to take it. I'm just going to live with Adam Long beating me if that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, Adam Long, I was impressed. I would have bet a lot of money that, I had actually Stuart Sink in my 3 balls yesterday who missed a 4-footer to lose that. But that's neither here nor there. Adam Long played well yesterday. It was impressive. It was nice to see that. Having said that, Gary Woodland, he started out really good. He kind of fell back to earth. He needs, you just said that he is in a bit of trouble. Nothing he can't work out of. Yep. He's going to have every opportunity to score today. But on Fridays in particular, and this is, you want to weigh these like every bet against expected value. These guys are all favorites. So if you lose a couple, you're going to be paying certainly some juice.
Yep.
But Friday in particular, I'm more apt on a macro level to take some favorites just because the cut is in play. And someone like Gary Woodland, he knows what he needs to do. He needs to have a good round today. I think some of those guys who maybe were a little sluggish kind of get back in form and find a way in.
Speaking of a guy that actually is, speaking of form, a guy that's actually in form that did not play that well yesterday on an easy course. We got Rahm going out at 10 under. Guy that I'm very high on this week, who I actually think could be in a little bit of trouble, is Abraham Answer. He's matched up against Hunter Mahan, though. And granted, Hunter Mahan, withdrew from a tournament that he was leading in to go visit his wife, and we haven't really seen him since. I mean, honestly, he has not made any waves on the PGA Tour since withdrawing from the RBC Canadian, leading it to go see the birth of his child. I'm sorry, I'm just on Answer. I can't see Hunter Mayhem beating him. Answer knows he needs 2 under today probably to get to the cut on the South course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to play the form here for sure.
If there was one, I'm with you. I do lean Answer. If there was one to get tripped up, this would be the one. Just when you throw in, I think the South course is a little more variance in the sense that you can get into real trouble. Answer. Now they both obviously have to play. It's not like Hunter Mayhem's on the North course. That would change things. I don't really see much from Hunter Mayhem in the sense that I wouldn't be stunned to see him struggle. This is such a mammoth course. I was disappointed though with Answer yesterday. He was just very quiet. He grinded. He put himself in a decently bad position. Nothing he can't handle again. It's not like he's 3 or 4 over by any stretch, but you got to take more advantage. And on the South course, you only have a couple of opportunities. Truly, you got to get a couple of the par fives and then hold on for dear life with these long par fours. So I lean Answer. He's the one though. If I had to say which one of these is going to be an upset where maybe like a plus 150, 160 wins, I would say Hunter Mayhem has the best chance of the dogs.
Yeah, I can understand that. Definitely understand that theory. I'm gonna just stick with the form and hope that Answer prevails. Now I want to touch quickly on the odds to win because I think there's some opportunities there. One of the ones that's really sticking out to me is Tony Finau 7 back. And he's 20-1 right now. You're getting better odds than it when he started the tournament. I don't expect him to be 7 back after today playing the North course. Let's say Rahm goes out and shoots 2 under. I think Finau could shoot 8 under and really only go into the weekend, maybe 1 or 2 back. And at 20-1, man, that just seems kind of long. Tiger Woods 21-1, Xander Schauffele 22-1, all kind of in that same boat. I'm really looking at those 3 guys this week for a little bit of a hedge upside odds.
Finau definitely even caught my eye. And I know, again, it's fun to be reactionary, but people forget Jason Day no one was like, oh, Jason Day is going to win. He came and then he murdered the North course on Friday last year. So you're going to see people who right now are just very quiet vault up this leaderboard. And Finau's one of the guys. He got the South course out of the way. He played well. Now he has the opportunity to go do what Rahm and Rose did. So you're going to see guys who played that South course yesterday vault right up that leaderboard. Even I'll say, you know what, Rory, I'm not predicting he's going to win by any stretch, but it's not beyond Rory to shoot 64 today, and he could be 4 shots back going into the weekend.
Yeah, at 35-1, we're talking about a top 10 in the world golfer playing an easy golf course that he'll be able to use his length on. So 35-1, there's no reason why you shouldn't be looking at that as a bet at this point.
There's definitely guys that, the way I would approach this is like you said, Rahm and Rose, they were incredibly impressive, but they did, for lack of a better term, what they should do on the North course. Now, 10 unders, like I said, incredibly impressive, but there's going to be a lot of guys who can shoot 6, 7, 8 under today on the North course. Mm-hmm. And then they close that gap because, can he do it? I'm sure, but I'd be stunned if Rahm hangs a huge number on the South course in terms of going low. It's more likely try to ground out any round in the 60s. He would take that in a snap, a 69, no doubt. So we'll see. I do think it creates some volume with this double course. A lot of people undervaluing some of the guys that played that South course.
Yeah. How about any guys that played the North with Rahm that you're looking at? One that you and I talked about on our golf show. And one guy that I liked of the sponsor exemptions to make the cut, and that was Doug Ghim. And Ghim is 40-1 after shooting an 8 under. He's only 2 back, I believe, of Jon Rahm, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. 45-1. This guy was highly accoladed out of college. He beat Rahm in college a couple of times. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to win the tournament, but 45-1, he's only 2 back. Any dabble there?
Not for me, but that was, first of all, excellent call by you. I'm very fascinated to see how he handles the South course today. My gut says that he has a bad round, but you know what? He's been very impressive. I don't care where you're playing. Shooting 8 under is certainly no joke. I'm going to the other side of the spectrum in terms of, Doug Ghim obviously is playing well. He doesn't have best, historical stats. He's very young. I think Decky and Spieth are two guys that, a ton of risk today. I don't know how they handle the South Course, but they put themselves in position with a decent round today to be right there. So, Decky was one polarizing play. He seems to be cruising. Spieth, obviously, yeah, he hasn't been good on the South Course. There's no denying it. He needs to be better tee to green, but if he putts like that and he just plays a little better tee to green, he's going to be just fine. So those are two guys, depending on what numbers you could get, I certainly would look into.
Yeah, how quickly the books jumped back to Jordan Spieth, huh? After putting him out at 40-1, now he's only 3 back, and all of a sudden he's 10-1.
Yeah, see, like that's not
very interesting. Just like that, they switch on a flip. And I will say, I watched every shot of Spieth yesterday. Off the tee was bad. It wasn't awful. It was bad. Obviously, he didn't hit that many fairways. He didn't really need to. But let me tell you, his iron game looked like it was top 10 in the world, like it has statistically been over the last 6 years. And his putting, he made everything yesterday. I mean, he talked about it. He said he's going to need to be better. But yeah, I honestly, when the round was over, I went to go look because Bryson was 5-1. And I'm like, oh, maybe I can get a 5-1 and 25-1 on Jordan and do a little double there. They moved Jordan to 11.5-1 super quick. I didn't jump on it.
No.
I'm not ready to. I'm the biggest Spieth truther in the industry right now at this point. But I'm still not ready at 10-1. If he goes out and shoots well today and they give me an 8-1 line, maybe.
It'll be telling.
A little less odds if I can see him go out and hit the fairway today. But I'm just not jumping quite yet. I would rather focus on Tony Finau at 20-1. I think that's a tremendous odds at this point where he is in the tournament.
For sure. And I think that's what we need to do. Obviously, after today, it's A, everyone will have played the South Course, and B, they will only see the South Course on the weekend. So we'll have a good indication. I know it's just going to be one round, but I'm going to glean a lot from how, there's a handful of guys, Neiman, Griot, Decky, those types all did what they needed to do yesterday. Now they go to the South Course.
Can one of them come out and beat Rahm and shoot a 4 under there?
Exactly.
And really get into the tournament. Yep.
Because, you're going to see, I'm sure, a bunch of guys who posted good numbers go over par today and kind of fall back to that middle of the pack, but a couple are going to emerge, and then we'll see. It should be a fun weekend, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and it's just interesting, just to finish up here, of those guys that you mentioned, like Joaquin Niemann, he's sitting 65-1 right now. So I'm not saying he's going to win the tournament. We're not touting that. Either of us are. But what we are saying is if Niemann, who shot 6 under yesterday, sits 4 back, goes out and shoots 4 under today, and Rahm shoots 2 under today, that line's going to be 20-1 tomorrow, not 65-1 that it sits now. So,
and that's
it's a wide open tournament. That's also what we want to say. It's a wide open tournament because we got this second field. Take advantage of the long odds because of Rahm's 60, yesterday, or 62. I'm sorry, 62. So. I think, yeah, which is a great score at Torrey Pines. I couldn't even believe when I opened the app what scores we were getting, but it is what it is.
He just took it apart, and that's, again, what you can do. And obviously, not to state the obvious, when you're making bets like this, you're not gonna be even close to right more often than not. But when you only got to be right on someone like Neiman 2% of the time to get good value at 65-1. 5% of the time you're crushing it. So you want to weigh everything against not, is it going to win or not? That's not how it works. Is, am I getting good value? Can you buy out of it? Like you said, if Neiman posts a good round today, if you're holding a ticket at that price, there's a lot of things you can do on the weekend in terms of maneuverability, hedging, a lot of those concepts we've talked about, on our evergreen content. You can always check that out on the site. And it really makes for a fun week. And it's always nice to get a sweat. And Kyle Stanley seems to be preventing me from doing that on the DraftKings side.
Yeah, I've got a lineup with him in it that the other with CT Pan and 2 other guys that are Siwoo Kim. Yeah, it's
CT Pan, another one. Really good round yesterday. We'll see how he handles this length.
And long odds as well. So yeah, look at a book. Like I said, I'm not trying to tout sportsbook, but I know that they offer buyouts on their bet. So it definitely is part of the golf trading that's what you have to do. It's not always about Neiman winning the 65-1. If they'll cash you out at 25-1, you've basically doubled your money there and a little bit better. So I think that about does it for me. Any other thing miscellaneous you want to bring up? Any tennis or anything like that?
No, we got a good one on tennis, Nadal and Djokovic. That'd be fun. No, last thing, and I know I already said it, just like I said, it's been a boatload of fun to have people in Slack. We've been having a lot of fun in the sports betting channel. for our members, hop in there, say hi. And if you're not a member, sign up because it really is good as March Madness approaches. I'm certainly excited for everything, but we'll get on out of here. Obviously, it's Friday, do some things, and let's use a one time with Stanley. What do you say? Let's just get him through the cut today. How's that?
You want to use the one time? We can use the one time.
Okay, I'm going to use one. If I hit it, I won't say that for the rest of the year. On that note, everyone, thanks for watching. Hit the like button on your way out. We will be, stay tuned. Like I said, football props, articles, podcasts, it's all be coming next 2 weeks. Thanks for watching as always. Have a great weekend, and we will see you here next week.
Cheers, everybody.
Good stuff, guys.